Hey everyone, Irix Guy here. I just wanted to take a moment to do an iPad. Well, actually, it's not iPad 3. They're actually calling it the iPad now. But this is the third generation of the iPad. As with all Apple products, it comes in a box. Except now it doesn't say iPad 2 or anything. It's iPad 3, third generation. Simply says iPad. But you can tell it's iPad third generation by the packaging it's in, because I wanted to make sure when I walked out of the Apple store I was getting the third generation. So I opted for the for the bare bones. I just got the 16 gig in the white. Now there's a reason I went white with this instead of black, and that's simply because the the edges on the white iPad or iPhone tend to show fingerprints less than the black. And I know that sounds silly, and a lot of people would argue with me and say that, oh, the black iPad's better because it makes a better frame when you're viewing images. So I can see that too. I usually preference a black border around an image or a video over a white border. But I mean, that's all up to you as an individual. Now, I wanted to point out the design. If you've seen an iPad 2, it's not much different. Actually, most of the cases that fit iPad 2 will also fit this third generation iPad. But it's got a camera on the front. It's now a 1080p, which is very high image quality. Still got your button there. A lot of people pondered whether or not they would even include a button on this version, but they did. Volume control, lock the display. It's got a camera on the back, again 1080p camera, a higher quality than the iPad 2. Your power button, also your screen lock button, headphone jack over here, microphone, and then let's see. And I'm trying not to touch the screen. I'm really funny about these things, and I know it's a touchscreen device, but I'll go into that in a little bit. And then there's the jack, same jack if you've got an iPhone 4 or a previous generation iPad. You can use the same connector. Now let me get the case, and I'm going to go into a little bit of detail about that. And I know these things are probably overpriced. I think it's like $30 something, but it's the Apple branded smart cover. It's not an aftermarket cover, but I think it does. I know it's one of those things, you know, you can get stuff aftermarket that's just as good. But I would say, and it's magnetic. See how easy that snapped into place? Let me redo that. I'm just getting it set up here. This thing, okay, so here's the cover, right? Bam. And it's like it knows exactly where to snap to be perfectly aligned on the top and the bottom. So I mean, it's magnetic. I think it does a really good job. Now if I open this up, it simply turns the device on. I'm not going to turn the device on. I'm not going into an overview of the Apple iOS applications. I mean, if you're watching this video, you probably used an iOS device before, and you're probably familiar with what's out there. But I did want to talk about the visual quality. The image quality, since this has the Retina display, is outstanding. And I didn't think that the jump from iPad 1 or iPad 2 would be so drastic, visually speaking, in the iPad 3 generation. So this iPad 3, I mean, the image quality is great. Now, the one thing that I wish they had done, I wish they had included the iLife suite with this, which is GarageBand, iMovie, and iPhoto. But it's a pay to download. And I think they're only like $5, but still, after spending, and again, this is just the base model. This is the 16 gig Wi-Fi. But after spending, after tax and everything's considered, a little bit over $500 for a device, it would have been a nice gesture for them to include those apps. And I mean, that's That's just my opinion. I'm not complaining. Now, one thing I've already found out is that the smart cover is great, but when I put it on my, and I only use my iPad when I'm in bed. I mean, it's my nighttime device. I use a desktop computer otherwise, or my iPhone when I'm on the road. But one thing I definitely want is some form of protection for the back, because this, I mean, if you sit it down on this back side, if there's any sort of sand or dirt or anything rough on that surface, this would tend to scratch very easily. And not so much the aluminum that I'm worried about. I'm worried about the camera lens, because I know on my iPhone 4, for example, I had a case for it and it broke, and then I would carry the phone out of my boat and it got sand and everything in there and totally destroyed the visual quality of the camera on my iPhone 4. So what I've done, I got on Amazon and I did a search for silicone case, and actually most all of the silicone cases that will fit the iPad 2 will also fit this third generation iPad. So I ordered one, and it was called an iPad compatible case or something like that, meaning that on one side of the silicone it's got a gap over here, and that gap is to enable the smart cover to function with it. So when I get that in, I'll do a separate video review. Actually, the one I got, I didn't go for all the marketing hype. I just looked at the ones that were rated very well among Amazon reviewers, and I ordered one. I think it was about $8, and I'm Amazon Prime, so I get it free shipping. So that ought to be in a few days, and I'm going to put that on here and do another video and show everyone how it should protect it, because it'll at least according to the screenshots and the product description, it should be a silicone case, kind of like a really rubbery plastic, and it should be elevated around the edges to provide a little bit of bumper protection if you gently bump this device into something. And most importantly, it'll raise the edges around this camera so that if I wanted to sit this down, because when you think about using this, you're pretty much using it like a book, and to have to consciously think before you sit it down to flip it over because you don't want to scratch the back of your device is a little bit crazy. So that bumper case, if you're in the market, if you don't already have an iPad device, definitely consider getting a silicone case that's compatible with smart cover if you're going with smart cover. Personally, I like the smart cover. It's very low profile, meaning that it doesn't add a lot of thickness to the device. And I'm hoping the silicone case will be the same way, and it'll feel good in your hands too. Being the silicone should make it less prone to slip out of your hands. But my verdict for the iPad 3rd generation is that it's an excellent device. My advice would be, if you already have an iPad 2, if you play with one of these, you're probably going to notice, well, you will notice the visual quality increase. That alone is an incentive to, in my opinion, to spend a little bit extra and get the 3rd generation iPad. Aside from that, iPhoto and I think some other apps, and I may be wrong with this statement, but there are some apps now that will only be compatible with the 3rd generation iPad. So if you had an iPad 1st generation or an iPad 2, then you might not be able to run all the apps. But it's a really great device, and actually and I know I probably sound like an Apple fanboy, but I kind of am, because my desktop's an iMac, my phone is an iPhone, and it's really nice the way all of these devices integrate with one another. If I jot down a note on my iPhone, it'll put it in the iCloud, meaning that I can see those notes across all my Apple devices. And the same thing applies to documents, email. It just makes it really unified experience, so that regardless of which device I pick up throughout the day, I'm going to see all of my current notes and whatever I may put in there. Photos, it syncs photos. So if I made a photo on my iPhone, I'd be able to see it when I get online at night, because I only use this when I'm in bed read and research stocks and stuff like that. But I would be able to see the pictures that I made while on the road with my iPhone, and likewise, if I made pictures with this, I'd be able to see them on my iPhone and my desktop computer. So Apple's got a good thing going here. I wish they're, and I'm not going to complain about the lack of an HDMI port, because one thing that this device will do, and it's actually the reason that they updated the Apple television, no, not television, but TV rather, just the little box, their $99 box. It's 1080p now. So if you get a new Apple TV for $99, whatever it is, you can actually stream from this device to the Apple TV. So it's kind of like having an HDMI cable, except you don't actually have to physically connect a cable between this device and the television. It just utilizes the Apple TV to deliver what you're seeing from your iPad 3rd generation to your television set. So I thought that was kind of neat. And a lot of people were concerned that they didn't add a SD card slot, or, you know, like I said, an HDMI output or anything like that. But I don't think it's necessary. I think simplicity, in my opinion, for these types of devices, keeping them as slim as possible is important, because if you need to interface with other devices, if you can do it like I just mentioned with the Apple TV wirelessly, streaming stuff to it, or if you can, you know, you shouldn't have to have everything on this. You shouldn't have to carry around a computer in your pocket, and that's the joy of the entire iCloud experience, is that you have everything in the cloud, meaning the internet, and you can just access it from multiple devices. And we're seeing a big shift in computing right now. I mean, this is not a, you know, you can play games on it, but this is obviously not a desktop gaming computer. It's not trying to be a PlayStation or an Xbox. It's strictly a convenient way to access one's data, and feels like a book. But I love it. Nothing negative that I can say about it. I mean, aside from the opinions I expressed within this video. But definitely, if you're in the market for a new tablet, I would definitely, as of today, I would go for the iPad 3rd generation. Actually, I sold an Android Acer Iconia Honeycomb tablet to get this, and I'm so glad I did. And I know I'm probably going to offend a lot of Droid users out there, but I mean, just the quality of this device, how it feels in your hands, the weight, all things considered, it's just such a more refined tablet experience than my Android ever was. And yes, I'm a nerd, and I customized the heck out of my Android, and it was nice, but unfortunately, I mean, Apple, in my opinion, comes out the winner. Thanks for tuning in, and again, I'll post that follow-up video containing the silicone case when I get that in a few days. Have a good one.